There is a microphone. No, there isn't. Why did I say microphone? There is a plane going overhead. That would be weird, wouldn't it? Microphone flying overhead. Meow. Hello and welcome back. This week I am reviewing the Rode NTG5. I will quickly run through the methodology, although if you've watched my reviews before, you'll be familiar with this by now. To test the microphone, I have set my peaks to be between minus 12 and minus 20 in order to hit a noise floor of below minus 60. I test using 20 sentences between 1 and 9 words, testing character voices, sibilants, plosives, proximity, etc. The only thing I then do to the audio is I normalize it so that it matches with the microphone that I test against and also matches against the rest of the videos I've done. So each sentence is individually normalized to between LUFS I of minus 20 and LUFS I of minus 24. Beyond that, there is no editing, no second takes, just the adjustments to balance noise. And the same is true of the second set of tests I do later on using the first chapter of Winnie the Pooh. So as I said, I am reviewing the Rode NTG5, but as always, I like to have a baseline to mark it against. And today the baseline is the wonderful Sennheiser MKH416. Let's have a look at the frequency curve here. It has an extraordinarily similar curve to my day-to-day mic, which is the TLM102, although there is a bit less at the bottom end and a much smoother lift for clarity at the top end. But it is, on the whole, pretty damn ideal. You know, this microphone is a legend for a reason. It has good self-noise of 13 dBA, and the noise floor I achieve in recording is minus 68, which is excellent. My experiences with this microphone have been good. I totally adore the microphone. I would use it all the time, except for one fatal flaw. It is long. With an XLR attached to the end, it comes up to pretty much close to 30 centimeters. And recording with my head in a box, as you can see, that is just too long. I will also note that others who clearly have better ears than me can spot comb filtering going on when I use the MKH416 inside my head box. I don't have the ears for that. I haven't noticed it, but please be aware. Price is interesting, to be honest. New, this is £839 from Amazon UK and $989 from Amazon US, which is actually cheaper than the currency conversion would suggest. But I don't think you should buy these new. I formerly had a second one. I had a MKH416T. That's a Tornado-powered one. And that was £321 on eBay, and then I had to spend another £80 when the adapter it came with didn't work. And then I don't have that anymore. Now I've just back to the original one, which is my MKH 416P48, so normal phantom power, which I again scored a really good deal on. I got it from CEX. On the rare occasion it had one in stock, and that was £370, and it looks brand new. Well, a bit of wear and tear. I mean, I think it's probably been used for about 10 years, but, you know, looks significantly more brand new than you might expect. I am, as I said, looking at the NTG5. Based on the frequency response, I'd say it is pretty much what you'd expect if you combined my two favourite microphones, the MKH416 and the Neumann TLM102. It avoids the little dip that's found in the TLM102, and although it might have a little less sizzle than the MKH416, it should be very easy to EQ in general because it's similar to microphones I already use. And given the form factor and that it is an RF interference mic, shotgun mic, it should sound fairly similar to the MKH416 based on the frequency curve. It has exemplary self-noise. It has 10 dBA of self-noise, which I think is the lowest that I've got. I think it might have a fractionally wider area of capture than the 416 because the noise floor I got in the recording was minus 66 despite the lower self-noise. I should have got about minus 70. I'm excited about this microphone for a very good reason. If it sounds like my favorite two microphones, has the noise rejection of the MKH416 and is shorter and therefore fits inside my head box, then it has the potential to easily be my absolute favourite microphone. It is also decidedly more affordable than the MKH416. It is £409 from Wex UK, linked to in the description, and $569 from Amazon US. However, I lucked out and went on a bit of an adventure across London to go and pick this up, but I got mine for £200 from Facebook Marketplace with a dead cat windshield that I don't use because I'm recording inside, and that is just a stonking deal. So, shop around, look around. You can get rare but good deals on these microphones. As always, running through the tests one after the other. Let's listen to our 20 sentences.
Cue dramatic music. Cue dramatic music.
Or don't, we're not your mom. Or don't, we're not your mom.
Crunchazoids. Crunchazoids.
Now, imagine the perfect espresso. Now, imagine the perfect espresso. Precision is not an option. Precision is not an option. Talk to someone who gets it. Talk to someone who gets it.
I don't think we should go in there. I don't think we should go in there.
I brought you a spoon. I brought you a spoon. Oh, it's a lovely day to be a me. Oh, it's a lovely day to be a me.
I'm the best magical dog. I'm the best magical dog. All are safe under my protection. All are safe under my protection. Roll up. Roll up. Roll up. Roll up. You just got mud on my shoes. You just got mud on my shoes. I was never in the shadows. I was never in the shadows. Client said it'd be easy. Client said it'd be easy. I'm going to count down from 3 and then... I'm going to count down from 3 and then...
Kill them all.
Kill them all. She sells seashells by the seashore. She sells seashells by the seashore. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. They're right behind you. They're right behind you. Okay. As always, I also like to test how microphones sound after they've been processed. So I run mostly the same processing chain on the following tests, with the difference being that I've EQ'd the microphones very slightly differently, based on what I heard and what Sonable Smart EQ4 suggested. Let's have a listen to those. Here is Edward Bear, coming downstairs now, bump, bump, bump on the back of his head, behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs, but sometimes he feels that there really is another way, if only he could stop bumping for a moment and think of it. And then he feels that perhaps there isn't. Anyhow, here he is at the bottom and ready to be introduced to you. Winnie the Pooh. Here is Edward Bear, coming downstairs now, bump, 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 on the back of his head, behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs, but sometimes he feels that there really is another way, if only he could stop bumping for a moment and think of it. And then he feels that perhaps there isn't. Anyhow, here he is at the bottom and ready to be introduced to you. Winnie the Pooh. So what are my conclusions? So what did I like about the NTG5? Well, I love the length. No, it is not as short as the Deity 3S, nor is it as light as the Deity 3S, but the frequency curve and the response is so much better. And yes, it is shorter than the MKH416, and it's just short enough to use in my headbox. There are some differences in the sound between the NTG5 and the MKH416, but I would say that that is easily attributable down to the source rather than the microphone. I, out of necessity, have to record the microphones one at a time. I don't have the space to have them both connected and plugged in at the same time, which is what I would do if I could. But as a result, they are different takes that are being compared, and it is entirely possible that any differences you hear are down to that difference. Tonally, it's lovely, just like the MKH416, and I think it sounds absolutely beautiful when it's EQ'd on the Pooh example, although fairly, to be fair, so does the MKH416. The price new is wildly better than the MKH416, despite being eminently competitive. And to be honest, a new NTG5 is not that much more expensive than shopping around for a second-hand MKH416, unless you find a really good deal on the 416. So if buying new, it's a really easy recommendation to make. Just buy the NTG5, not the MKH416. Couple of things I don't like, although it does seem pretty indestructible. I can't say for sure that it's quite as indestructible as the MKH416. Those microphones are legendary for the amount of punishment they can take. And I very slightly preferred the proximity effect on the MKH416, although that could also be due to the differences in the recordings. Let's just have another listen to those. Precision is not an option. Precision is not an option. It is, as I feared, slightly less energetic at the top, but it's only noticeable in a couple of the examples, and I failed to write down which they were, so I won't replay them right now. And it is fair to say that it only wins out against the MKH416 if you're comparing new versus new or used versus used. And it is hard to find used compared to the MKH416. There are just, there's been less of them made. They're a much newer microphone comparatively. And a new NTG5 is the same price as a used MKH416. And, that's a harder thing to say. There's a much wider market recognition of the MKH416. And you kind of might get taken more credibly if you say you use that. So that's that for the Rode NTG5. Coming up in the next video is the first in a series of interview videos that I'll be doing. So I'll see you next time for an interview with Arthur Tisserand, talking about his demo production process and philosophy. And it is a fascinating interview. I will see you next time.